Hi, I'm Henry. I'm back from Scotland. It's great. It's great riding, a really good experience. I recommend it to anybody who's into nature and haggis and lochs. I got told off for saying that wrong. It's not a loch, it's a loch. So, yeah. Had good feedback from the last video I made. I've never made anything with me just talking before, so I started to do some more. And those are going to be based on the things people have asked for me to help them with. And it's just how I've helped them. It's not necessarily right, but it's just what I've done and it's helped. So hopefully by making these videos I can help some more people with some issues and get more people on board with riding safely and having fun. So this is a two-part video. It probably does not apply to, or sorry, the second half of it probably does not apply to most people, but the first half would. And that is the seating of the tyre on an EUC. When you get an EUC new, I've bought a few new, they all come with very soft tyres. Now, the rim and the tyre is never an exact fit, so there's always some shift in the tyre, and often if you just pump it up without seating it properly, you're going to notice the tyre moves around a little bit, and that can contribute to wobbles, speed wobbles, feeling unstable. You know, as soon as your wheel starts wobbling and you're learning, even if you're not learning, even if it's just a new tyre, you automatically start to tense up your toes and start to get foot cramps and foot pain, and you may find that you can only ride for 10 kilometres, and then you see people riding for 200 in a day and you wonder how it's done. Well, it could be to do with the setup of the EUC. So I was inspired to do this yesterday because a friend came round with this exact same problem, and then I noticed on my tyre, even though I've seated it already once, it's still wobbly. Now these off-road tyres, this one is a CST C186. People often confuse this one with the Kenda, which is the standard tyre on the Sherman. I don't know what model of Kenda it is, sorry, but I don't have a Sherman, so people always think it's that tyre, but it's actually different. Now, the Kenda is a lot more rounded than this tyre, so that leads to some problems. So after I seat the tyre, I'm then going to show you how to shape the tyre. And the reason for that is I've got used to this tyre now, but when I first jumped on this wheel after changing the tyre, I noticed a bit of an issue. It was a little bit dangerous, and part of the reason why I'm reluctant to let people ride this for more than anything just around a car park, and usually they don't want to, is because yeah, the shape, profile, but we'll get into more of that later. So what I'm going to do now is just start the wheel up. I have it propped up on 2 cans of paint, just as blocks to lift it up, and they are on these parts. You have a stand which lets the EUC rotate, or the wheel rotate freely. That's probably fine to use, but I don't. So, well, I do, but it's not with me in this country. So if you spin the tyre, turn it on first, you'll notice that it is not straight. There are some kinks. Now these are tiny. I don't even feel this when I'm riding. Yeah, you can see it's quite obvious. So I think it's going to be more stable, and especially as I'm going to shape it afterwards, I want it to be perfectly true. So I'm going to show you how to do that next. So this step was actually an unplanned step, but I've just noticed something, so I'm going to take care of it now. You can see around the rim there is quite a lot of dirt. And because we're going to be deflating the tyre later, well, you'll see that later, I want to just clean that off a bit, because I don't want any dirt to be in the inside of the tyre and the inner tube. It will rub and it will cause a hole in the long run. Often around where the valve and the stem meet, there's often dirt there, and it causes a hole. It's a very dangerous hole because it can go down quite quickly, which is one of the reasons why I've hurt my knee once before. So we want to avoid that. So I'm just going to quickly clean this tyre before we start. So cleaning the tyre, that was something I forgot about before, but that's quite important. While you do that and you spin the wheel and while you're cleaning it, you can also use that time to have a look at the bead and take a point on the case or something which you can reference, like with one eye closed or something. You could use a ruler, you could be a bit more accurate. I do it by eye. A lot of people just do it by eye. This is what we're looking for here, this part here. That's what I mean, that's what I say the bead is. For the purpose of this video, that's what I'm going to call the bead. The bead actually is inside the tyre, but we can't see that. So I take a point on the case, which is close to the bead, and I just close one eye and I spin the wheel, and I just do it by eye. So I'll do it now on this side. I'm going to look here and here, or maybe even here and here. I just maybe hold the camera still. It is not moving that much. Tiny bit, but that's negligible. I flip it over. The other side is a lot more, so that's what I'm going to be focusing on today. So it's not as obvious as I would have wanted, because this has been seated before by me, but there is a slight wobble in this one, and it's just on one side, and it is here, between the fuck and hipster. It's going to be very hard to demonstrate, but I've checked it out, and it's slightly pinched here. It's ever so slightly caught on the inside, caught on the rim. So I'm going to try and pop that out, and I'll show you how to do it. Okay, so that's done now, and it should look a bit like this when you play around with it. I can move the tyre, but it's not flopping around. It needs to be a little bit firm, but so you can get inside the rim. And what I'm doing, I'm not pulling it too much, because if you do that, you're going to uncenter it from the other side. So I'm just going to go to the bit which I felt wasn't centered properly, and now I look at it at this angle. It's kind of obvious. It's in here and out here. So this whole bit here needs to be pulled out. This part. Fuck hipsters. We're all hipsters. So for that, gloves are optional, I guess. I think they're nice. Not nice in general, just nice for this. And I put just pure non-brand washing up liquid on, a lot of it. And I'm gonna let it go into the rim totally. Now I'm not pulling the rim around too much at this point, because it's already quite centered, and I don't want to do any damage to my okay centering job. So I'm just pulling it down and letting the liquid go inside, so it's going to act as a lubricant between the tyre and the rim. Now because this wheel's quite centered already, or this tyre's quite centered already, I'm just doing it where I want to move it, because the rest of it, if I make it all slippery, the whole tyre's going to move around, and it's very hard to get right. So we're just doing this part. I guess I should probably do the other side here as well, because we'll have a look afterwards. Right. So that's done. The next step is to pump up the tyre like hell. I'm going to go for basically as high as my pump can let it pump up. So probably about 50, but we can get back to that in a second. So when I've told people to do this in the past, quite often the reaction or first reaction is won't this pop the tyre, or won't it damage the tyre, or we have to follow the manufacturer's ratings. You don't. They're very, very strong, these tyres. So I've pumped mine up to the about 70 psi or 5 bars. Yeah, it's not going to burst. So the next part is what you do if it doesn't pop out. Mine has popped out, but I'll show you what you do when it doesn't. You take the part of the tyre which is, whilst it's overinflated, not popped out, and you should use a rubber mallet, but I don't have one, so I'm just going to hit it with a hammer. Hit the tyre with a hammer, not the wheel. And what that does is, if it's just nicked in there slightly, the shock of hitting it with a hammer with the overinflation and the lubrication will force the bead out. Okay, so that's it for the first step. I've just washed off the tyre and I've dried it. I actually dried it by going for a ride in the park. It feels better actually already. So if you're planning on just reseating the tyre and not reshaping it, that's it. In terms of tyre pressure, that's something I'm not going to go into today. I set mine on 2 bars or 29 psi, but yeah, there's a lot of theory behind that, so we can talk about that another time. So if you're going to do the shaping of the tyre needs to be dry. As you can see, mine is all clean and dry and ready for the next step. So, next step. So before I do this, I better give a shout out to Jericho Daz from the EUC stunt page. He wrote to me in detail about how he did this, and I've tried it out on another tyre and it works really well, so I'm going to do it again on this tyre. Basically you need a bit of rough sandpaper taped onto a bit of stick at the same height that you want to sand it at. Now the rougher the sandpaper the better. This is the roughest I have, and you should probably use better tape than this, but that's all I have, so we'll just make do. Now I tried to do this on the concrete because it'd be more level at first, but actually what happened was the wheel span out of control and went flying, hit the camera and damaged the front of the wheel. So I'm not going to do that again. I've placed it on these 2 bits of wood on this soft rubber clay area. So if it gets out of control again, it's just gonna, well, fall on the floor and not get damaged. So start by turning it on, and it's balanced so that it doesn't actually spin, and you can just get used to it at first by tilting it forward, slowing it down, tilting it backwards. So the tyre is quite square at this point. I've actually done it a little bit already, so it's not as square as it was, but I'm going to continue doing that now, and then I'm going to go out riding, see how it performs. So I'm going to leave the middle. I want to have this more V profile, so when I'm over on the side carving there's more surface area, and I'm going to chamfer, I guess is the word, or take away a bit of these side bumps and then the edges. So it does rub a little bit, this tyre, when I ride one-footed, so I want to just narrow it down a little bit and then round these ones off so it's a bit more of a V shape. So here goes. That's how you don't do it. So that's all done now. That took around 10 minutes, and as you can see, it's a nice round shape. I've just been for a test ride already and it handles amazingly, so I'm going to go out riding now and test it out on the street and do some dirt. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, and if you want to see some more of these sort of tips, hit subscribe, and yeah, if you want me to talk about anything else that you think I might be able to help you with, write a comment in the comments and I'll get back to you about it. Until next time, bye.